All right, welcome to the Chico Area Local Adventures virtual tour. I am Jenna Walker, Program Director here at Adventure Outings, joined by Riley Cox. He's the AO Operations Coordinator. And today we're going to take you on a tour of some of our favorite places within about 90 minutes or so of Chico. And our favorite thing probably to do is to explore these places in person, but our second favorite thing might be sharing some of our favorite places with y'all and for folks who want to get out and about. So without further ado, we're going to get this tour started. Does anyone want to take a guess to where this picture was taken? Feel free to, if you have any questions or any comments or want to answer this question, to add that in the chat.
Is it Phantom Falls?
You're close. You're same area. All right. It's actually Hollow Falls, but I almost want to give that to you. And then, yeah, it's basically North Table Mountain Ecological Reserve. So you're really close. You're only about a mile away from Phantom Falls here. All right. So starting off, we're going to begin our tour here at the center of Riley and I's world, Adventure Outings at Chico State. Adventure Outings, for those of you who aren't familiar with us, we're Chico State's comprehensive outdoor recreation program for the Chico State community. We're a program of the Associated Students of Chico State, and we're most known for our trips program. Right now, we're not able to run trips, hence why we're doing virtual events, but in a typical semester, we'll run over 25 trips all over Northern California to many of these locations that we're featuring here. So trips will include rock climbing, backpacking, canoeing. In the winter, we'll go skiing, snowboarding, snowshoeing, and basically doing pretty much anything you can imagine that's human-powered all around California. Obviously, with the pandemic, we're in an interesting place, but we're trying to get you all outside and going on your own adventures and checking out different places. So in order to help get you out, Riley and I are going to go back and forth in this tour, and Riley's going to cover some ways that we can help you get out.
Yeah, so we offer an equipment rental center, and I will link in the chat if you want to visit that. But basically, we have an online reservation form, and we are doing curbside pickup at the moment. And we rent all sorts of gear, anything that you might need for your own adventures, whether you're backpacking, rock climbing, car camping, going out into the winter, wanting to get out on the river or on a lake, anything like that, we can help supply you. So I threw up there just some of the winter things we're renting right now. We're renting snowshoes, Scarpa plastic mountaineering boots, ice axes, crampons, snow shovels. We have avalanche safety packages with beacons, shovels, and probes. We rent tents and tarps and a lot more. So if you go to that link, that will take you to a Google form, a reservation page, and you can choose all the gear that you'd want to rent. You choose a date for pickup and a date for drop off. We're only available Fridays and Mondays for pickup and drop off. And then that email will get sent over to me, and I'll help you through the rest of the process. And at the end, you will meet me if you want to pick up gear right where that car is in this street view here. This is the back of the wreck, in between the wreck and the train track. In this alleyway, there's a big roll-up door where that car is parked. You pull up right there, and I'll meet you there with all the gear you've rented, and you can go on your way. And so just as an example, snowshoes are $10 for the weekend. So we try to make it really affordable for students and community members alike. So yeah, if you want to go outside, hit us up first. We'll set you up. All right. So we'll move on over and we'll start in Chico and we'll kind of branch out from there. So for those of you not familiar with Chico, we have fantastic parkland, basically. Lower Park stretches for 5 miles, basically right from campus into the foothills. And from Bidwell Mansion, right about at the mile marker, is Sycamore Pool, locally known as 1 Mile. And what they did is they dammed up, they poured concrete and basically dammed up this natural flowing river and turned it into a giant public pool. So this is still part of the river. The river flows in one side, out the other. If you rotate the camera, Jenny, you can actually see the little waterfall over the bridge where the water keeps on running through. So this is, I would say, a 5-minute bike ride from campus for most people. A really great spot to hang out, study, go swimming in the summer. Well, you can swim in the winter too. This picture is actually from the polar bear plunge that happens every year, where a bunch of people, pre-COVID obviously, a bunch of people line up and swim across 1 Mile pool in the winter. So something to look forward to if you're in Chico next winter. But like I said, it stretches for another 5 miles into the foothills. Great running trails. There's a 5K route and a 10K route, as well as some beginner mild mountain biking pass on dirt. So go explore Lower Park. It's fantastic. And that'll take us into Upper Bidwell Park. So it's another 5-mile stretch going even deeper into the foothills. So the park within city limits is 10 miles long. It is the 3rd largest municipal park in the country. So Chico is pretty unique in that sense. We're really lucky to have all this right here in our city limits. So we've stopped about a 1.5 miles, 2 miles in from the parking lot at a really popular swimming hole called Bear Hole. If you come out in here in the summer, there will typically be lots of people swimming around, rocks to jump off of, things like that. And if you scroll through the photos, Jenna, I put a map in it. Yeah, all right. So Horseshoe Lake Gate down there at the bottom, that's where the parking lot is. And so as you can see, there is a ton of land to explore. Right around the 2 mile markers where Bear Hole, Diversion Dam, and Salmon Hole is, that is, in my opinion, where it gets really, really interesting. The canyon walls get really steep right there. Some get over 100 feet tall by the river. Huge boulders you can hike through. It feels like you're in this otherworldly place, boulder hopping, like scrambling upriver. It is really awesome. And that's right at the creek level. And then there's all sorts of trails that take you all up and down both sides of the river on the North Rim and South Rim. So definitely a great place to go explore. I've lived here my whole life and I'm still finding new areas up there. And the last thing I'll say about Upper Park is on April 6th, we're holding a virtual tour dedicated to Upper Park. And we are collaborating with a man named Hilo, and he is the member of the Mechoopda Maidu tribe. And he is going to be going in depth into the native practices of the tribe that used to live here and what was, important to them and how they lived on a daily basis. So that's going to be a really, really interesting tour. I'm really excited for that one. And that'll be in April. Yeah, some other just great photos. The first one, Jenna, of the up on the cliff. Yeah, this is a view from kind of like the Peregrine Point area. If you take Highway 32 up, there are pullouts and you can get up and hike around up on top right here and you get great views of into Upper Park. There's also an 18-hole disc golf course up there that's free. So something else to check out in Chico.
All right, moving further up the Big Chico Creek Canyon is the Big Chico Creek Ecological Reserve. That is managed by Chico State. It is 3,950 acres. It's actually bigger than all of Bidwell Park combined. Bidwell Park is about 3,600 acres. So it's a whole lot of land here to explore. This is a destination for many Chico State field trips. There's field research in fire ecology and restoration, salmon habitat, and much more that goes on through courses and then also through the reserve itself. There's several miles of trails there. This picture was from an Adventure Outings trip back about 2 years ago. It was called a edible and useful plants hike. And this is pretty standard trail out there, very narrow, not marked. So if you're going out there, know a bit about what you're doing and be ready for a bit of adventure. But there's a lot of land to explore and many places to check out.
All right. Just a quick plug on the Sacramento River. So like Lower Park and Upper Park was heading on the east side of Chico. The Sac River kind of borders the west side of Chico. And it is something that I think can be overlooked. It's a fantastic river. This river stretches an insane length through California. You can start all the way up in Redding and paddle for 100 miles, all on like nice flat water like this, or float it over multiple days. But in Chico, the really popular section to float is going to be the Irvine Finch to Scotty's. So yeah, if you click over, kind of like drew a line on there so you get a reference. It starts up at a bridge at the Irvine Finch parking lot, and the float will take you, I think it's 4 or 5 miles, and it takes about an hour to float. And so you can float this on like normal inner tubes. I know a lot of gas stations around Chico sell it, but if you wanted to use something a little more fun, Adventure Outings also rents stand-up paddle boards and canoes and kayaks and things like that. So you can pick your craft that you want to float down. The float ends at a restaurant and bar called Scotty's. So it's like a nice place to end your float, get some food or something to drink, and just have a great day. And so, like I said, you can extend this to however long you want to be on the water for. There is a fee at the parking lot. I should mention that. There is a parking fee. And you should go in and pay the fee and park in the parking lot, because if you try and skip the fee and park on the road, you could get a ticket or you could have people break into your car, like what happened to me. So you don't want that.
All right, so moving from one area of the valley to another, here's another great option for the spring or for the summer. It is Blackbird Lake Recreation Area. It's most known for its warm waters. And in the spring, it's also known for the green grass on the hillsides. So beautiful place to visit in the spring. There's about 13 miles of trails. They're multi-use trails for hiking, mountain biking, trail running, any kind of non-motorized use. And there's also a campground. So it makes a really nice place to camp out and lounge in the lake, take a casual hike, or you could take a stand-up paddleboard if you have some sort of motorized boat. This is a really popular place to go wakeboarding because the water is so nice and warm. We're gonna come out of the valley a little bit and head up to the foothills to Table Mountain. This is, in my opinion, one of the crown jewels of Butte County, arguably. Someone mentioned Phantom Falls. This is Phantom Falls. It is a phantom because oftentimes the waterfall that you see in the background isn't here. This is dependent on rain and water coming into it. So if you go there in the fall, it will be a phantom and it won't be there. But luckily we've had a lot of rain lately and the waterfall is cranking right now. It's actually an amazing time to visit. So Table Mountain was created by ancient lava flows. Essentially, Table Mountain is this elevated basalt mesa. A mesa is essentially means table in Spanish, and a mesa is this high flat plain. It has beautiful vistas of spring wildflowers, waterfalls, lava outcrops, and it also has this rare type of a vernal pool. It's called the Northern Basalt Flow Vernal Pool. A vernal pool, you might be wondering what that is now. That's a seasonal pool of water that provides habitat for distinctive plants and animals. So basically, it's a type of wetland that is devoid of fish, and because it has no fish in it, there's certain types of species that can thrive because fish aren't trying to kill them all at one time. So super cool place, really unique. It's most known for its wildflowers. So here's a kind of a classic Table Mountain picture of wildflowers. You can see purple in here, that's lupin. The yellow are poppies. And then next picture, there's some pink, and that is the purple owl's clover. So there's also over 100 types of plants that are unique just to Table Mountain. Essentially, they're endemic, and this is one of them. Sorry about that. This is the foothills poppy, and that's a plant that only grows in Table Mountain and nowhere else. So pretty cool. You can really, if you love wildflowers or if you just want to go out and enjoy the day, it's a beautiful place to go in the spring. The best time to go up there is typically the end of March and early April. Some of my favorite hikes up there, if you just want to do kind of a casual walk out, going out and back to Hollow Falls is a great hike. This is Hollow Falls. That was our feature photo that we started out with. Hollow Falls, that's about 1 mile out and back. If you're feeling a little more spry, like you want to get out a little bit farther, you're feeling good, you've got more time in the day, doing a hike out to Phantom Falls, which was this image right here, is about 4 miles. There's plenty more options to go explore. The trails, most of the trails aren't marked, like the trail out to Phantom Falls isn't marked necessarily, so definitely make sure that you get a map, and taking a GPS would probably be a good idea, using your phone and making sure that you're on the right track. One other thing that's important is that you're going to need a land pass to go out there. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife require a land pass to access the North Table Mountain Ecological Reserve. It's about $4.86 or something very odd per person, and you have to buy that online ahead of time. So, but it's totally worth it. It's worth your $4.86 to go out and see these beautiful views and to spend some time in a really unique place. Now we're going to move outside of our Butte County foothills and right into another one of our favorite places, the Feather River Canyon.
Yeah, definitely. The Feather River Canyon has so much to offer. I feel like it is a place that definitely rewards exploration. Feather River Canyon's like this main drainage that comes down, and there are so many little forks and tributaries that run into it that you can explore probably forever. So the Chips Creek Trail and hike is definitely one that I want to highlight. So it's about 2.6 miles along the PCT. So if the Pacific Crest Trail is something you've been interested in, you can get a little taste of it in the Feather River Canyon, hiking the Chips Creek Trail. Like I said, so many side hikes, a lot of crazy cool places you can go explore and hang out in a day, and there'll probably be no one around there. Feather River is also known for its kayaking runs. It's also where Yeah, kayaking, rafting, things like that. The Feather Fest is an event that takes place, I believe, in the Feather River Canyon. So don't think I can mess that one up. This place is another one that's kind of off the beaten trail and a great place to go explore and find. We won't necessarily name this spot. You should go out and find it yourself, but it's in the Feather River Canyon. I've done a ton of exploring in the Feather River Canyon, but not for swimming holes or kayaking. I've done a ton of exploring for rock climbing. That is what I like to do. I've been all up and down this canyon looking for boulders to climb, and one spot I've been to many times is called Grizzly Dome. So this is literally right off the highway. You can see here the street view. These guys just parked right off the highway. You can start climbing right up from the parking lot. I believe it's maybe 200 feet of climbing right out of the parking lot. It's sport climbing, multi-pitch. For anyone who climbs, I believe this one is overall rated at a 5.9, but it's the hardest climb up at the top. It's a great place to learn how to do something like that. And there's climbing all the way down this wall. And then there's also climbing at the river in the tunnel. And so you can climb inside this tunnel, on the outside of it, up onto the like face of the roof. It's a pretty fantastic spot to just hang out. When the water's low, you can actually cross the river, and that is a tunnel that you see on the other side of those two people. And that's like an outflow from higher up, and that tunnel goes all the way through the rock to another spot higher up. There's a bunch of stuff. There's old mines that you can go explore in this area. Yeah, the Feather River is just made to explore. You so much up there. Definitely a spot. And it's, I mean, Grizzly Dome is what, 45 minutes away? Really close. Really, really accessible for us in Chico.
We're going to move now from the southern part of the Butte County border up towards some of the highest places in our county. This is Jonesville. In summer months, it's about 45 minutes away, so similar to the Feather River Canyon in distance. Jonesville is home to the Jonesville Snow Park, aka where all of Chico goes to the snow when there's snow. If you're from Chico, we're just kind of laughing about that. It's basically the lowest elevation, the quickest you can get to that has access for snow play. So some of our favorite things to do here are tromp around in the snow. Here we have some snowshoers that are headed out. This is actually taken from the Jonesville Snow Park parking lot. And this is right off Humboldt Road. So if you're headed on Highway 32 and you turn right on Humboldt Road, this is as far as you can drive in the winter. There's a big parking lot there that's also shared by OHV users and snowmobiles. So there's plenty of other users, but the trails here over the bridge are all non-motorized. This is the link to the Colby Meadows cross-country and snowshoe trails. And these trails are not groomed or maintained. Essentially, they're all Forest Service roads that snow falls on them and suddenly become winter recreation paradise. So here you can snowshoe. We recommend getting some cross-country skis from Mountain Sports. That's a great place to rent cross-country skis. You can also rent snowshoes from us here at Adventure Outings and head out on your own adventure. The nice thing is you could go out as far as you want or not. So if you want to do a nice quick snowshoe or play or try to sled around with your family or with friends, this is a great place to jump out of the car and make a snowman. If you want to head out a little bit farther, I'd recommend for a shorter snowshoe or cross-country ski trip to go along Colby Creek. Colby Creek is the main drainage of Colby Mountain. For those of you who are feeling a little bit more adventurous, I've got to recommend going up to the top of Colby Mountain. It's a big day. This is actually from the top of Colby Mountain on a really nice day. This was a AO staff retreat back in 2013. But the views are pretty amazing from here. You can see behind this well-dressed cross-country skier here, there's a big mountain, that's Lassen Peak, and Broke-Off Peak just to the left. So there's some beautiful views on a clear day. That is about 9 miles round trip. So you want to make sure that you're ready to be prepared for that kind of adventure, whether you're snowshoeing or cross-country skiing. And I think Riley might add a link to the cross-country and snowshoe trails in the chat. Cool. Thanks, Riley. Another place in our local high country, it's not quite accessible in the winter, but it's an amazing place in the summer, is the Pacific Crest Trail. So the Pacific Crest Trail, or as we call it casually, the PCT, that is a trail that runs from the border with Mexico all the way up to the Canadian border. It is 2,650 miles in length. It's open to hiking and also to equestrian use as well. And I think if any of you have heard it before, you might have heard about people through hiking it, where they start at one end of the trail and try to hike the whole trail. That takes a lot of time, and who has time for that necessarily? So we try to hike sections of it. One of my favorite sections is actually right here in Butte County. This is a view from Humboldt Peak, which is just off the Pacific Crest Trail. Has really great views. It's almost pretty much 360-degree views on a clear day. Well, there's some trees, but pretty much 360-degree views. Beautiful views of Lassen Peak and the high country up here. Humboldt Peak is one of my favorite hikes. This is coming off the Humboldt Peak Trail. It is open to dogs. You've seen a dog in here. That's my dog Scout. So anywhere you've seen a dog so far is a great place to take a dog. Scout loves the PCT and she loves good views. So she's a big fan of the Humboldt Peak hike. Hiking up from Humboldt Peak is only, let me look for a second. That's about 3.2 miles. So a great short hike for those of you who are just wanting to get out. I like to take my family up there. It's perfect casual hike with a lot of bang for your buck. And then a little bit farther down south on the Butte County border here is the rest of the PCT. So this is actually right at the border of Butte County and Plymouth County. This is coming out of Chips Creek Canyon. We mentioned Chips Creek earlier. This is the very headwaters of Chips Creek right up here. These are some AO backpackers on relatively steep uphill, but they're all smiles here. And there's some pretty amazing views. One great thing about the PCT through Butte County is essentially it's where the Cascades and the Sierra meet. So there's some pretty incredible geology. In Chips Creek Canyon, you have granite, the granite that kind of you think of when you think of the Sierra, but then the granite changes to volcanic rock, very like gnarly volcanic rock. Not a geologist, so I'm not going to go too far into that, but quite the sight to see and absolutely beautiful up there. We're going to move a little bit farther away from the high country down into Deer Creek Canyon.
All right, so Deer Creek is along Highway 32, and I feel like Deer Creek is really, really wild. So along the highway, you have many things you can do. So there is this hike called the Big Leaf Pool hike. It's 2.6 miles long, and it basically follows the river the whole time. That's what that photo is that you see right there. And there's also the Potato Patch Campground. And you can actually see it if you move just to the east. Yeah, it pops up. So this campground is right off of 32. It's a great place to just go camping for a weekend. yeah, pretty simple setup. You can come rent a tent and stove and things like that from Adventure Outings. And if you keep going a little bit farther, almost to the junction of 36. So as you get farther up 32, it gets, I think, wilder and wilder. And if you zoom in, you'll start seeing all along the road, you'll start seeing all of these forest roads that pop out in both directions off of 32 and Deer Creek. And these forest roads go for miles and miles, and they kind of wind their way into like through Deer Creek into Mill Creek. And it turns into some phenomenal country that is pretty wild that no one really goes to. It's pretty remote. You'll find hunters out there, but there's a lot of amazing stuff to explore. If you like off-roading, I would say like motorized vehicles, motorcycles and things like that. In Deer Creek and Mill Creek on those Forest Service roads, they're all dirt roads. It's fantastic. I go out there looking for new climbing destinations. There's just miles and miles of cliff out there. There's river. You can kayak in it. You can backpack. You can hike. It's pretty phenomenal stuff. I love Deer Creek. It's definitely a place I need to go explore more. But like I said in the beginning, right along 32, there's also some stuff you can do if you're not wanting to get into these big exploration adventures. You can check out the waterfalls at Deer Creek. You have the lower and the upper falls. I believe this is the lower Deer Creek Falls. Gina's confirming that. Thank you. And then this one, Deer Creek Falls, it's about 50 feet tall, so it's bigger than it looks in this photo. And yeah, you can reach it just by hiking off of the main 32 highway. I will say it's also 32 will be your like one of your routes to get to Lassen and Chester and some of these other areas. So you drive along this Deer Creek corridor anytime you're going out there. So next time, take some time and stop and explore Deer Creek because you'll probably just be driving through it. So Eli, you asked about area national forest land. What area particularly were you asking about?
Off of 32, like the Deer Creek where the Forest Service trails were. And like I was just wondering, like for dispersed camping.
Right. I'm not sure. The land is like kind of boarded in terms of who manages it. I imagine some is PG&E. I know that where Black Rock Campground is in the Mill, that whole area in Mill Creek, which is the adjacent canyon, that a big portion of that is Lassen National Forest. And I know some of it is like wildlife refuge, like no hunting allowed in some. So I would just do my research. It's kind of checkerboarded. I can't really give you a great answer on that one.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
There is a lot of land that's owned by Sierra Pacific Industries. So a lot of the land that you'll see that's not necessarily homes going up Highway 32 is owned by Sierra Pacific Industries or SPI. So it's either SPI land or U.S. Forest Service Lassen National Forest for the most part. And there's some other land checkerboarded, as Riley said, in there for sure.
Okay, so just gonna highlight kind of briefly with Lassen. If you want to know more about Lassen, I'm gonna have a full tour on Lassen Volcanic National Park, and that's gonna be February 16th. So stay tuned for that one. We're gonna get a little bit more into the history and the geology and all the cool things you can do in Lassen in that tour. But we wanted to highlight this because it is kind of like our local national park. In the winter months that we're in right now, it's fantastic for snowshoeing and cross-country skiing and introductions to mountaineering or mountain climbing with Mount Brokaw and Mount Lassen and the ridge line that connects those two. This is also a great place for sledding. That's what you'll see a lot of, like right from the visitor center. You'll see a lot of sledders. 2 miles up the road is the Sulphur Works. So yeah, here's some photos of some snowshoeing and cross-country skiing and things. And so this is the Sulphur Works. This is 2 miles up the road. So even in the winter, you can come see it. And it's just a giant boiling mud pit right off the side of the road. So I'd say if you've never been there, it's well worth the drive to go up there from the parking lot, snowshoe out 2 miles and check out this giant boiling mud pit with steam vents and everything like that. So pretty fantastic spot. If you're looking for more of that type of terrain or just the crazy, like otherworldly phenomena that happens with volcanoes, you can check out farther up into Lassen, a place called Bumpus Hell. And we'll talk about why it's called Bumpus Hell in the next tour. But this is a giant area with many different mud pits and steam fumaroles and like boiling lakes and things like that, sulfur and stuff. And so obviously, as you can see, they built these walkways for protection because you can easily like step and break through the crust and end up in these like boiling mud pits. And that's no good. So let's see here. Yeah, so this is all winter stuff. I mean, I've actually never been to Bumpus Hell in the winter. I imagine you can still get out there and snowshoe out there. I'd be a little bit more careful because the trail isn't as marked. But that's definitely a great place to go in the summer. Lassen's also fantastic in the summer. There's a highway that runs all the way through Lassen. It can connect you to all the different parts. But there's many things you can do. In the winter, there's an entrance fee, and that's $10. So just come prepared. But you can camp at the Southwest Visitor Center, the main visitor center. There's a campground right there. And in the winter, it's basically like just snow camping right in the parking lot for the most part. So it's a great spot to just like base camp and do all these cool things right out of the parking lot. It's pretty convenient, to be honest. Lassen is ideal. So just be warned that there will be a lot of snow if you go up there, especially right now. The snow has been looking real nice lately. I'm hoping to get out there next weekend and climb some mountains. Yeah, I'll transition now, let Jenna talk for a little bit, but I'll post some links in the chat about some of these places while she does that.
We'll head out of the wintry area and head a little bit farther north to Whiskeytown National Recreation Area. Whiskeytown is just outside of Redding, and it's about 90 minutes away. Whiskeytown is a pretty great place in the summer. Got some pictures here from happier sunny days. This was an Adventure Outings trip about 3 years ago. It's Whiskeytown Lake kayaking. We like to travel, of course, via non-motorized boats, but there's plenty of other boats you can enjoy out there. You can take stand-up paddle boards. If you have some sort of wakeboard or water ski boat, that'd be a great place to go. One of my favorite things to do out here is mountain biking. There's over 50 miles of trails for multi-use, which includes mountain biking, hiking, trail running, and equestrian use. Some of the trails have closed due to the car fire, but over 30 miles are still open. So if you head up there, definitely check the park website to make sure that where you're going is open. You can also get in touch with me, shoot me an email, send a raven, do whatever you need to ask and let me know, because I'm pretty dialed in on that area. It's one of my favorite places to go to mountain bike in the winter. There's a lot of great waterfalls to explore. This is a nice place. You don't have to be a romantic here, but you can be if you want to. This is Crystal Creek Falls. This is the easiest waterfall to hike into at Whiskeytown. Essentially, you could even roll into there. It's actually ADA accessible, and it's a paved trail. The trail is about 0.6 miles, so just over half a mile total. And you get to go to this beautiful waterfall with a great pool, very scenic. Pretty easy hike to do. A little more challenging here is the Whiskeytown Falls hike. That's about 3.5 miles round trip, more strenuous with a much more rugged trail, but also a beautiful waterfall. So you can't go too wrong in Whiskeytown, in my opinion. There's some beautiful mountains up here. This mountain right here is Shasta, Bali. It's snow covered in the winter. It's actually like 3,000 feet higher than the lake. So some big mountains all around you and really accessible. This is Highway 299, this bridge right here. So super easy to find, but definitely one of my favorite places to check out. We have 2 more places we want to mention because they're a little bit farther than 90 minutes. Okay, definitely a little farther than 90 minutes, but they're 2 classics, and Riley's going to cover them.
Okay, yeah. So you have Mount Shasta, pretty iconic for Northern California. It's the 5th tallest mountain in California. I'm probably gonna get this wrong, Jenna. 14,200, roughly, right around there, feet in elevation. And there aren't a whole lot of like trails in and around Mount Shasta because most people are going to ski there or they're going to climb it. But I don't think there's anything that like circumnavigates Shasta, nothing like that. But there is a Shasta Ski Park. So there's a whole ski park here at the base of Shasta that you could go to. Great place for snowshoeing, snow camping, snowmobiling, everything like that. And obviously mountaineering. And then just the whole surrounding area of Shasta, there's so much to do here. You have Mount Eddy across the way. You have the Castle Crags, which is this like crazy plug of granite that just erupts from the ground and then disappears right quickly after. But Castle Crags is a phenomenal state park. It honestly reminds me of Patagonia when you're up in there, like these giant 1,000-foot tall granite spires jutting out everywhere. So if you're wanting an adventure, head north, check out any of these areas. I mean, the Marble Mountains is up here. There's so much terrain, so much wilderness in the north to go explore. But Shasta's definitely cool just to drive by it, to be honest. When do you get to see a 14,000-foot mountain when you're not in California? So, yeah. Lastly, I think if we're talking about Northern California, we have to talk about Lake Tahoe. Lake Tahoe is just classic. It's such an amazing place. So much to do here. Pretty much the gamut of outdoor recreation. Just incredible views. I don't know what mountain this is, but someone's on top of it, and it looks pretty awesome. I don't even know how many ski resorts are in Tahoe. I didn't think to look that up, but a ton of ski resorts, at least 6 or 7, I'd say. So great place, obviously, to go skiing, snowboarding, miles of cross-country trails. There is the Tahoe Rim Trail, which is, I think, a 70, 80-mile backpacking trip that circumnavigates the lake. And then world-class rock climbing all over Tahoe. Bouldering, sport, trad, anything you want to do, it's in Tahoe. So it's kind of a mecca. In the summer, you have these amazing like lakeside beaches. I would say if you're wanting to go to Tahoe in the summer, check out Airbnb. You can find some sweet deals on cabins like right near the lake. Split it with a couple friends and you got a pretty cheap weekend lakeside in Tahoe, which is pretty phenomenal. And if you go do that, go pick up some paddle boards from the AO equipment room, paddle board all over the lake. It's a pretty awesome way to spend your weekend. But yeah. yeah, that's all I want to say about Tahoe. I think we could do a whole tour on Tahoe itself, but that's not what we're here for today. If that's something you want, let us know. You can email Jenna or I about any type of tour you guys want to see. We have a pretty sweet itinerary this semester of tours. Like I said, the next one coming up is the Lassen Volcanic National Park tour. We're going to have a tour on Upper Park with a indigenous tribe member, the Machupta Maidu. We'll be going international. We're doing tours collaborating with the International Exchange Office. So students from these areas are going to be helping lead those tours. I think we have a tour in Haiti and a tour in Mongolia in the works. And then Jen is going to do a tour on the Inca Trail and Machu Picchu. So we got a lot coming down the pipeline. So yeah, we'll be advertising those when they get closer.